but it's like they actually melt down into a fluid and then they form into an entirely different creature. So that was just like the perfect analogy, because I'm like,
So
that's
perfect.
exactly what it feels like. You were
Yes.
melting down.
Yes.
You're like shattered.
That's the beginning of
Crystal, I'm so excited to see you and meet you and talk with you. I think we have a lot in common. We could probably talk all day if we
I
wanted
know
to.
this is going to be fun, a fun conversation, because I definitely want to talk with you about so many things. So I'm glad that we're trading off, like you're going to be on my podcast. So
Yes.
we're going to have a chance to talk. I'm going to have a chance to ask all my questions for you, but
Yes. Yeah. So for my people, because I'll be putting this up on YouTube and also on Facebook and all my places, I'm interviewing Crystal, who has written this book called My Life as a Wannabe Balanced Mom. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see all my dog ears?
oh, I love that. That's awesome. I totally do that to books too. Like as much as, ooh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I was seriously thinking after about, I don't know how many pages I was in, like 10 pages. I'm like, I think I'm dog earing every page.
I know.
So there's so much good. And I wanted to say, like, my kids are older. So I have a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old. And so when I first read this, I thought, oh, well, this will be fun because it will be a good reflection on when my kids were your age. But I got so much out of this book.
Oh,
As a mother who's already been through kind of the younger kid stage of life, it's so much more to me. This book was so much more than just motherhood. And that's, I mean, and not, I don't want to say just motherhood, because obviously motherhood is so wonderful and great.
yeah. Yeah.
But we as women, and especially with our experience in the church, and we could probably tie that into this too, just about how we are so much more. There's so many parts to our personality
Yeah.
and to our life and to all that we are as women. And so yes, this was such a good book, and I have tons of notes too, because I was like, I'm going to be all over the place. And this is what I did last night, because I knew I was totally consuming and like, internet stalking you for like a while now.
Me
So
too. I've
feel
watched
like-
a lot of your YouTube videos. I
Yes.
love them.
So I feel like I know you, like we're
Yeah.
friends. And it's funny because people say that to me all the time, and I would imagine you get that too, because when you put yourself out there,
Yeah.
people know you. You're inviting them into your space. So
Yeah. One of the things I think is it people will like see me in real life and they'll be like, oh my gosh, like, is that weird that I'm saying hi? I'm like, no, like, don't even think of me that way. Like, I'm just the same
Yeah.
as you. I
Yeah.
just happen to share it on social media, but I love when people say hi to me and
Yes.
talk to me like they know me, because it just feels good to feel like we have that instant connection, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I love about this, because of course we can connect on faith crisis and what that all is. But when as a mother, we have so many things we connect on, and so many things people don't talk about publicly. And so it's so lovely to
Yeah.
have this here in your book. I will for sure be linking all of Crystal's stuff down below. So her website, she has an event she does yearly, her social media links and all that. I'll make sure you guys get all of that good information. Yeah, so what I loved about this book is you basically kind of take everyone on a journey through your life, from being a young woman in a dysfunctional family, your teenage life, moving around a ton, and what that was like. I don't want to give like too much away. I really think everyone needs to read this, but it was really like I was just in it. Like I read it all in one sitting. Well, I take that back. I think I read like 10 pages one day, and then I read the rest all in
Yeah.
one day. And it was just like I felt like I was just witnessing your life, and that's such a personal, important thing, I think, because it's personal stuff, right? So to talk about all that, it's just amazing. You are from a very big family. Do you want to talk about any specific parts of the book? Because I could definitely go through each, but what kind of brought you to writing this book? Kind of share with us how that all started.
Okay, yeah. Well, it's just interesting. I think something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I've been reflecting on how the book came about, is like manifesting the things that you want in life, and feeling like you have the power to bring about certain dreams and goals that you have for years, and sometimes we get impatient and we're like, oh, it's just like I've been working so hard for like a whole month and I don't even see any results, you know. And so
Yes.
I just like to share that story about my book because it took 10 years to get this book, or probably even a lifetime, you know.
Yeah.
But 10 years is 10, I think over 10 years ago now is when I started talking about having the goal of writing a book, which to me was like this really out there thing to say.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I never would have considered myself somebody that could write a book. You know, I've always seen authors as, whoa, like they're just like super smart and they have all these degrees,
Yeah.
and I just had like this, I really put them up on such high pedestals, and I felt so inadequate to even say that I wanted to write a book, you know? And I just started to try to say it with confidence over 10 years ago. And the more I just talked about it as if for sure I'm writing a book. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I can write a book, you know, anybody can write a book. There's, you know, everybody has a story. And I think by over that process of, you know, a decade, realizing how when you have certain goals and dreams and things that you want to manifest into your life, it doesn't just happen overnight. And we do get extremely patient, even if it's taken a couple of years. We're like, gosh, I've been working so hard at this for like 2 full years and I don't see any growth or anything. And it can be discouraging. But and even for myself now, like with the new goals that I have, and sometimes I get frustrated, it's not growing the way I want it to, or it's just not, things aren't coming together the way I would expect them to or hope for them to. But I always have to remember the whole process of this book manifesting itself, you know, because it took a full decade for it to actually happen. And I think sometimes we just get too impatient. So one of my biggest things that I like to that's really been on my mind lately is that we need to be more patient and just focus on being consistent. And that was actually my last podcast episode that I just did. And it was all about being consistent and how being consistent, if we focus more on just being consistent with the little daily things that the daily goals, then over a long period of time, beautiful things will begin to manifest. And if we put less focus on when's it going to happen, when is it, like how close am I now, and then if we stop focusing so much on how close we are, when's it going to come, and just focus on the daily consistent tasks that or goals that we have, and then you're more fully enjoying the journey, which we're always taught, like just enjoy the journey. But it's like, yeah, I'm sick of people saying that because it's not easy to do, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's like, well, just enjoy the journey.
Exactly.
And it's not as easy as people make it seem. But if you can just focus, try daily to put your focus on what is it that I'm doing today,
Yeah.
and stop worrying so much about when is it going to happen, because eventually it will just happen when the time is absolutely perfect and right.
I love that. And I thank you for that, because I have had this dream to write a book, and I, like you, same thing. And like, I've just put it off for so long. And I think that it does come in perfect time, right?
Yeah.
And so for you, and even you talk a little bit about that in the book too, how this is when it needed to happen.
Yes.
Did the whole process of you committing to it and writing it, and just the whole kind of framework that bookend your experience of writing the book. It's just,
Like
I think
could
that's
not
great
have written it
advice.
10 years ago when I initially had the goal. I
Right.
didn't have as much life experience. I didn't have and so much has changed in 10 years. My whole mentality around balance has
Yeah.
completely evolved in something so different
So
than
tell me about that. Like, 10 years ago, what was your, and I know you talk about this in the book, but you can kind of like tell me again how it's evolved for you.
Okay. Well, it really I think stepping out of the church, is really what pushed me into this new mentality.
Okay.
But it wasn't just like a night and day realization. Once I left the church, it was actually a process of a couple years that it took me to finally comprehend what balance really means, and I was always so interested in balance. And I think mostly because I was an LDS mom trying to check off the millions of things
All the boxes.
that we
Yes.
are encouraged. They say encouraged, but there's so much guilt and shame around the things that they teach us to do, or fear. There's so much fear. Like, if you're not having family prayer every day, if you're not, taking your kids to church every Sunday, or doing family home evenings, or having family dinners, that was like my biggest thing. It was so hard for me to have a family dinner where we all sit down at the same time, especially with little babies. I just constantly felt this pressure, like, gosh, I'm just never doing enough, and I'm not gonna have good kids, and I'm like the worst mom ever, because I struggled so much fulfilling all these different things that we're taught in the religion that are so extremely important, and if you don't do them, like, you're gonna regret it.
Yeah, you're not living up to the bar. Yeah.
And I think I finally learned to let all of that go, but it was definitely a process. And once I began letting a little bit go, eventually it led to me letting the entire religion go, because I realized it was no longer serving me.
Yeah.
It was, which I love that you told me that you went to the life coach school and all that. So you kind of, it was actually Jody Moore that led me out of the church. Unintentionally. I don't think that was her intention.
Well, she helps with that critical thinking. I love Jody Moore. I've
Yeah.
met Jody, and she is a lovely person, human.
Yeah, I still love her, and
me too.
like I know that she respects my journey. She was at I've already shared my whole, journey with her, and she spoke at my last event, and I told her this is what I'm going through, and she's just such a great person in that sense, that she really practices what she preaches.
Yes.
She's not judging people.
Yeah.
She's allowing others to be on their own journey, even though she still believes in the church. But the reason why, so I've always loved, I first was introduced to Jody somehow. I don't know how, but I found her podcast, and I was instantly hooked. And then she talks about Brooke Castillo. So then I started listening to Brooke Castillo, and they teach a lot of the same things, but I just always was more drawn towards Jody Moore because she's LDS, and so was I. And then she taught me that I could choose to believe whatever I wanted to believe.
Novel idea, right?
I was like, wait, no, how does that apply to the scriptures?
Because you have to believe this box of beliefs.
Yeah, we're told this is truth, so you have to have faith that it is true, and you have to believe it. So I didn't really comprehend that we had a choice, which is funny because people will always comment, because sometimes I'll post really out there things about me leaving the church, and some people are angry, and I know that you've had a lot of people come after you.
I get that too.
They have their comments, and you're like, okay, like, they just don't get it unless they've experienced it. And I don't know actually why they don't understand what I mean by, now I get to choose whatever I want to do, whatever I want to do, to believe whatever I want to believe, and I can choose how to live my life. And people are always coming after me like, you always have the choice. You always have the choice in the church. You don't have to not get a tattoo. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to pay your tithing. And I'm like, well, if you believe what the church is teaching, which is this is the one and only true church, there is no other way to reach the highest degree of salvation and to return to God again and have an eternal family, then what other choice is there? Outer darkness?
Right. Yeah.
Who would choose that? That is not free agency. There's no choice. There's either happiness or outer darkness. Nobody would choose outer darkness. So for me, I just don't understand why people don't get what I mean. Like, yes, I finally have the choice to just live how I want, because now I'm not bound by these beliefs that never felt right to me.
Exactly.
Didn't feel right to me. And there was always things that the prophets were teaching and saying. And I'm like, but why would they say that? Why would God be like that? And I would always be questioning that and so confused. And I'm like, and I hated that I would even question what I thought God was saying. And
Right.
it made me feel bad as a member and feeling like, why I just don't have enough faith. Why am I even doubting God, what God is telling the prophets? And so finally, when Jody taught me that, and I asked her like tons of questions on, but how does that apply to the gospel? You know, like you can't choose to believe whatever you want to believe. And she still said, yeah, you can.
Wow.
Like, I needed
Yeah.
that permission
It's
from
a
an
gift.
LDS
Yeah.
life coach to
Sure.
tell me, you don't have to believe this. And
Mm.
I'm like, really? You're telling me I don't have to? Because I don't want
Yeah.
to. I don't
Right.
like it. And I
Oh,
would much
wow.
rather, I'm more drawn to like Buddhism and just overall like no organized religion and just growing spiritually in my very own unique way.
Yep.
Nobody else telling me what is true, what is not true, and finally allowing myself to discover it on my own through other people too, like different gurus and even other religions. Certain teachings I can decide, oh, I like that fits with me, you know.
Mm.
And people outside of the religion might think, or in the church might think, oh, well, it's just because you wanted to drink alcohol. And I'm like, really? You think I would forfeit my eternal blessings and
Exactly.
eternal family for a drink of alcohol? Like, you
Yeah.
really think I'm that shallow? Like, that's my
Or
goal?
even worse, like a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I know. Coffee or green tea now. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like,
Just
I
watch
could not
out.
believe. I'm like, oh, well, it's so funny that the green tea thing has come up recently. You saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that.
I'm like, oh my gosh, because it was like 5 years ago I started teaching classes on how to make kombucha from home,
Oh, nice.
and you use green tea. And
Oh.
I've never thought green tea was against the word of wisdom.
Mhm.
I'm always like, green tea it's not black tea, it's not coffee. Maybe there's a little caffeine, but there's caffeine in Diet Coke. They don't say anything about Diet Coke. So I was like, it's not about the caffeine.
Right.
Green tea has antioxidants. There's a lot of health benefits to green
Sure.
tea. And so I'm just going to choose to drink green tea for my kombucha. And I had a lot of Mormons like messaging me like, but what about the green tea? What about the green tea? And I'm like, what? Like, what about Diet Coke? What about Diet Coke?
Yeah. Or all
I'm
the
like,
sugar or all the
is
meat.
Diet
Yeah.
Coke good for you? Like, can we
Right.
use our brains here? Like,
Mhm.
what's good for you? What has research shown? The prophets are not saying anything about energy drinks, Diet Coke,
Exactly.
overconsumption of sugar.
Right.
And that's so frustrating to me. That's another thing that I would get so frustrated about. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they are focusing on like three things that they think are bad, which actually have been proven to show that there's a lot of health benefits, but they're never addressing sugar or the caffeine consumption, which
Mhm.
almost every LDS woman is addicted to one of them.
Yeah.
So it's just frustrating to me, that whole thing, and people messaging me about the caffeine and the kombucha, or not the caffeine, the green tea and the
Yeah.
kombucha. And I was always like, you guys, like
You're
it
missing the
doesn't say green tea. And now they come out and say like green tea is not allowed.
Specifically.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. It's so crazy.
I don't get it.
No. So tell me about when you kind of had the moment. I call it my moment when I just knew that the church wasn't true. And you do talk about it in your book. And it's like that. Well, we'll talk about my experience in a minute, but I could just very much relate to your, like, it's kind of when you not submit to it, but when you internalize what it means when the church is not true. Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that was the scariest moment of my life. And I I just never really realized that stepping away from my lifelong beliefs and leaving the religion would spiral into the dark night of the soul,
Mhm.
like questioning everything, questioning your own existence, the
Yeah.
universe, like everything. And I just never foresaw that happening, which I wouldn't want to like scare anyone into like like don't do this because it was like scary, but I'm actually very grateful for the dark night of the soul, and I think it's a very important milestone or step
Yes.
we all must endure sometime in our lives, and it is not fun. It's scary, but it's so powerful, like what happens to you afterwards, because you finally learn to let go of everything.
Sure.
And it's very empowering once you can do that. It's the most scary thing you can ever do, because we love the comfort of what our parents taught us or what society teaches us, our culture. There's a lot of comfort that we have there, and like, oh, this is it, this is the way it is, and this means that this is what happens then, and if you do this then that happens. Like, it's just so comforting to have answers and to have these solid beliefs, which I always think now the being like, you need to have a solid foundation. And I'm like, actually, what if you don't? What if it's okay to be feeling like, to have the groundlessness, you know? And I love, do you ever listen to Secular Buddhism podcast?
No, I haven't.
Noah
I'll
Rasheta.
check it out.
He has a
No.
really great podcast, and I love it all. But one of his episodes is called Groundlessness. It's a lot of just what the Buddhism teaches, and it's just totally opposite of what I have been taught my entire life. You know, like you need to have like a sturdy foundation, and
All the cornerstones.
yes. I'm like, actually, what if it's the opposite? What if the opposite is true? That having that sense of like falling and like having no foundation, what if that is even more empowering and fulfilling
Yes.
than having a firm foundation?
Right.
And it might sound a little scary to some people, you know, but like how I mentioned in my book, that one of my favorite quotes is, um, fear is excitement without the breath. And then once I learned how, I felt like I was falling, and I'm like, you're like, hold your breath, you know, like,
Yeah. Tense up.
like, but we experimented with the breathing through that scary feeling. Once you're like go down the hill on the roller coaster, instead of like tensing up and like freaking out and holding your breath, me and my kids, we would like breathe, and you have those feelings. That feeling in your stomach is literally not there anymore. The butterflies, like you don't feel that fear in your stomach. And I'm like, what if we just focused more on relaxing and breathing? Then things don't feel so scary anymore, and it actually becomes exciting. You can actually enjoy the ride.
It's like such a counterintuitive, right? Like, because we think fear, we fear fear, right? When really, if you just lean into it, it's so much better. But I love what you said, like that dark night of the soul, and having to go. It's not even like that's a choice. Like you just find yourself in that space, and I call it like it was my free falling. Like that's what those are the words I use, because it's just so like I have no idea where the bottom is to this. So you kind of went through your dark night of the soul. When did you find yourself? You learned to kind of breathe into it, and then you felt the peace. So how did that ripple through your whole family and with your relationship with your husband, which such a beautiful, you know, just to feel the love that you and Sean have, it comes through in this book, you know. And then of course I watched all those interviews that John Dillon did with you guys, and just to feel that you guys are a team. And I want you to get to that too. So talk about when you finally felt like you could land softly and you could, you know, lean into each other as a couple, and what you did with your kids and how that process went.
Okay. Yeah, at first it was just very disorienting. You just don't know how to do anything, you know? Like, how do we parent now? Like, what does this mean for our marriage? Like, what does everything mean? You know, you just really have to question everything again and just decide a whole new way of living and thinking. And it was really scary at first, but eventually, you know, things calmed down, and you feel more settled and okay with not knowing exactly how you're going to do things, because as Mormons, we just have everything planned out. We know exactly what we're doing, what we're heading for, what our goals are with our kids. We got to get them on the mission. We got to get them married in the temple and having lots of kids. Like, that's our goal. And that's and keep them in the church. First of all, you got to keep them in the church. So
Keep them on that path.
And now to let go all of that, so much has changed, and we're seeing it like every month, like something new, like, oh my gosh, like we're not going to teach that anymore. We don't want to teach that anymore. And it is really exciting because we can now be open to a new approach, which in the past we always just felt like, well, this is what the church teaches us to do. This is like what we did, and this is the way it should be. And so you just do it without really even questioning it, because you've been taught to just have faith and to just trust. And in a way, I think people like the religion because it takes away so much of the thoughts, so much of the questions that we have around everything in life. It's like, oh, and the answer's right there, just do what they tell us to do, like we don't have to figure it out ourselves, like just do what they tell us to do, and
It's all been figured out for us.
and it is easier that way. People think, oh,
Sure.
you're taking the easy way out because
Oh,
you left the religion.
Yeah.
Not really, because now we really have to figure it out for ourselves, and we don't have to be told what to do, and we have to decide what is best for us. And it's so different than any other family you will meet. So you can't just be like, what did you do with your 13-year-old daughter when she started liking boys? It's like,
Right.
well, your 13-year-old daughter is very different than mine, and your marriage is different. Your everything is different. So you can't rely on the advice that other people tell you to do. You have to figure out how to find those answers within yourself. So you can take advice and learn from gurus, but you still have to figure out, well, what feels right with my soul? What is my inner being telling me? And that's a lot more challenging than just being told what to do your whole life, and just following what they tell you to do, even if you don't like it. It's a lot more challenging to have to be open to figuring it out yourself.
Yeah.
But I like what Jody Moore teaches, that she really helped me also dogs remove the fear and worry that I'm making the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Because it's like there doesn't have to be a wrong choice, a right or wrong choice. Just anything you choose is going to lead you somewhere, or lead you in the right direction
And then
somehow,
you make other
in some
choices.
way.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
gonna teach you
beautiful
something.
thing.
Yeah. So now it's really nice to release all the fear that I had around parenting, because it's like I no longer have to be like, oh my gosh, am I screwing them up? Like I'm totally messing up their lives, and they're gonna be like drug addicts, and like all these fears in my head. It's like, no, the way I'm doing it now is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And I'm gonna learn something through it. They're gonna learn something through it, even if in the end you might look back and be like, oh, maybe I could have done it differently. It's like, no, just appreciate that that's how you did it, because there are so many lessons to be learned in every decision that you make.
Do you find that, because this is what I found with my kids, instead of worrying, because pretty much they were end of junior high through high school and I was out of the church completely, I felt like I didn't worry so much about all the terrible things that could happen, because I felt like they are their own person, and they're building their own autonomy. And so you don't have to be so fearful. I mean, we worry. I mean, that's just part of being a parent, but it was a different mindset. And I think that thought work, and of course my life coaching is all about the similar philosophy behind that, is so empowering versus feeling like we have to be fearful of the big scary world out there. It's like, no, you get to teach your kids now the critical thinking, and that it's going to be okay, and they get to make decisions, and they might have some big lessons to learn from that, good ones or scary ones. I mean, that's the human experience, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So then, so you and your husband, do you find that, like, the guilt and shame of how you used to think isn't there anymore, as far as what you're doing or not doing, or how you're raising your kids, or how you are in your marriage and all of that?
Oh yeah. Like, such a relief. Like, it just feels so light now. I don't think you realize how heavy life is when you're in the church until you leave, and things just feel so light, and you're like, wait, this is not what we were taught. Like, if you leave the church, it's gonna just be scary, which I can see why people say that now, because experiencing the dark night of the soul, it does make you question, like, wait, why did I choose this? But once you come out of it, you're like, oh, this is why. This is
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
And you have released so much of the weight, things that were weighing you down and not allowing for spiritual growth. I just
Right.
didn't feel like I was growing. I felt like I was going in circles. I was
Hmm.
experiencing the same negative emotions with through the same experiences over and over and over. I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? And it's like, when I finally realized, because I'm choosing to think these thoughts, and
Yeah.
I'm continuing to attract these things into my life because of my constant thoughts around this and my beliefs. And then you let it all go and you're just like, wow,
Yeah.
really amazing.
It's so freeing.
Sean and I have done a couple podcast episodes on my podcast, Want to Be Balanced, and we've talked about some of the shifts that we've made in our marriage and all the growth that has happened, and these really like empowering aha moments where we're like, wow, like we went through something about 3 or 4 months ago where we were just finally opening up about everything.
Mm.
We both had been hiding so much
Yeah.
about our true selves, because the Mormon mentality makes you feel like, I can't share that. We can't talk about that.
Mm.
Finally, we like released all of that, and now we are peeling back so many layers that is so beautiful what we're discovering within
Yeah.
our relationship. And we're like, oh my gosh, like we both like never made it safe for each other to be open
Um,
about things, like about our past, or there was
mm.
so much about our past that we hid, because we thought, oh my gosh, I'm such an awful person because I did this or this happened. And it's really cool to finally be able to open up about everything in our past and have no shame around it.
Yeah.
It's so healing to be able to express those experiences with the one you love the most,
Sure.
talk about it, and you feel like you're able to release all these pent up emotions that you've been keeping in for so many years.
Yeah.
Too afraid to tell anybody, you're too afraid to talk about it, you're so ashamed. And then you don't realize that you're carrying around so much weight and negative emotion that you think that is not there, because you're like, I repented for that, like I've already taken care of that. But did you really? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think we really do take care of it, or maybe some people do, so I can't speak for everybody, but I don't think that I fully forgave myself, because for the things that I did when I was younger, because I still in my mind believe that they were such awful sins.
Mm.
So it's like, how can I forgive myself when according to the church it's so bad?
Right.
But once
Yeah.
you release the belief around sins and mistakes that you make being so awful and bad, and you release the belief around it, then you're like, oh, that was just an experience that
Yeah.
taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's no judgment around it. You release the judgment, and then you no longer feel that weight anymore.
That's
And you can
amazing.
just fully forgive yourself, because you don't even really have to forgive yourself. It's like there's nothing
Yeah.
to forgive. It's just
Right.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then when you're able to put that barrier down as a couple, you can grow closer together. And you guys have been together quite a while, right? How many years have you been married?
15 years now.
Yeah. And you're kind of having this new birth into your
Yes, like our
relationship.
marriage is just like this whole new relationship now that is
Yeah.
so much deeper and more fulfilling and more connected than ever before, because now we're not holding back in any way. We're not afraid to talk about things. He knows me. I feel like it's such a blessing to be known that deeply, like when you're not able to share certain things or talk about certain things that was like very traumatic in your past, then you feel like there's a part of you that your spouse doesn't know, because it's
Right.
part of you and you can't talk about it. So
You keep
the one
pushing
you
it
love the
down.
most doesn't know anything about that experience or what it did to you. And so then you just don't have, once you can start talking about those things, you just realize your connection is just like so magnetic and powerful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, and that's what we aspire to, right? Like we want that kind of intimate relationship because that's intimacy on a whole other level.
Right.
And we could probably do a whole podcast just on that
I
alone.
know.
But
Yeah.
so your cover's beautiful. Talk about the elephant and kind of the symbolism of this and how that came to be in the elephant through your life kind of
Okay. Yeah.
narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. When I first wrote the book, I just envisioned, like a mom with her kids on the cover of the book. And the book cover designer was like, well, there's so many books like that. Do you really want another mom book with a mom and her kids? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Like maybe we can think of something more unique. And he presented me with this cover, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's interesting. But what does this have to do with being a balanced mom,
Yeah.
And how does this apply to my life? And then after thinking about it for just a few minutes, even, I was like, oh my gosh, elephants are actually very symbolic in my life, And like, how did he know that? It's
Yeah.
just so cool that he just happened to present me with this perfect cover and and it's so meaningful because when Sean and I first met, um, he had to go out of town and go attend the wedding of the founder of Isogenics, the company we work for, and they had this really elaborate, like those celebrity type weddings, like the bride flew in on a helicopter and he rode down the aisle on an elephant, and it was just really
Wow.
cool, just very so amazing. And he got to attend the wedding, and one of the gifts that everyone got who attended the wedding was a crystal elephant. And Sean, when he got home, he'd
Wow.
only went on like one date before he had to leave town to go to this wedding. And he came home and he presented me with this crystal elephant as a gift. And I was just like, I was like, oh, cute. And then like when I was writing the book and this cover idea came to be, I was like, I went digging through storage and I found the crystal elephant, and now it has even more meaning to me because I'm like, wow, like I just love how things come together over long periods of time. Like I was saying,
Mm-hmm.
like things just kind of, it's like this beautiful masterpiece that kind of, you start to see it as you're putting the pieces together. And it's exciting to see, oh, what is this picture turning into, as
Yeah.
you're putting the pieces together. And yeah, so elephants just really have a lot of meaning for me. And as I've really pondered that, I've been thinking about all the different times in my life where I've had elephants, experiences with elephants, or I've always loved elephants. They're amazing creatures. And then when I decided to use that cover, I was like, I'm going to read up on elephants and research a little bit more about these amazing creatures. And I come to find out they just are so much like humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that is even more powerful, to just realize how these animals are actually a lot like us.
Yeah. That we're very connected. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh gosh, thank you so, so much. I want to make sure, for those who don't click on the link below, Crystal's website is wannabebalanced.com. And you have an event, you do this yearly, right? A Wanna Be Balanced Women Empowerment event. Do you do that at a certain time every year, or talk a little bit about
Um,
that?
it's just whenever works out. This year was just my book launch. It was kind of like the event, but it was just more like my book launch party. So,
Okay.
and next year we might do more of like, we have a Facebook group for, are you in our Facebook group?
No.
It's called Mormon Enlightenment.
Oh no, I
You
will
should
come
come
find
join
that.
us
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
for
so we're
sure.
thinking of doing a yearly event for the Mormon Enlightenment Facebook group,
Oh, fun.
just to bring together more like-minded people and to get to meet people in real life and stuff like that. So we will continue doing events. It might not be the Wanna Be Balanced event, but it could be a Mormon Enlightenment event.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Well, good. And you'll always have that on your website so
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
find that. And then, of course, a link to the book. I'll have that there, but you can for sure find it on your website. I think, oh, I did want to, this was one of my favorite things that you said in the book. Breakthroughs start with a breakdown. And I think, I mean, we kind of talked about your experience of kind of your dark night of the soul and all of that, but that's just so powerful because sometimes we put off, like we don't want to go there, right? Because it's
Yeah.
scary and we don't know what's on the other side. And so I loved that
Yeah.
quote in your book. It's just a very powerful way to look at it.
Yeah, I really love the way Martha Beck describes that, how she talks about having the meltdown and like comparing it to the caterpillar, and it's funny because I didn't even know that a caterpillar actually turns into a liquid and then forms into an entirely different creature.
Right.
I was like, oh, I must
Oh,
not have
wait,
paid
that's how
attention
that works.
in high school when I was learning about that. I just thought, oh, they grow wings.
Yeah.
But it's like they actually melt down into a fluid and then they form into an entirely different creature. So that was just like the perfect analogy, because I'm like,
So
that's
perfect.
exactly what it feels like. You were
Yes.
melting down. You're like shattered. I like how Mindy Gledhill says shattered in a million pieces on the floor. And it's just so, it just describes exactly what it is. But then you become this entirely different creature, a
Yes.
butterfly, like
Right.
we all want to be a beautiful
Beautiful.
butterfly with wings, so
Exactly.
allow that meltdown to happen, because
Yeah.
it's such a huge turning point for your life.
For sure. Yeah. And you can't go around it. You have to go right through it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Crystal, so much. Everyone go grab this book, Crystal Escobar, My Life as a Wannabe Balanced Mom. I just love it. Thanks for sitting here and chatting
Yeah,
with
thank
me.
you so much.
Okay. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah.